When I began to study the Tshuvot, the responsa of the Rambam, I had no idea that a book that I would write would be dealing with a literary composition and not the halachic, not the legal content of the letters that he wrote themselves. Let me explain what happened. The Rambam completed his great halachic work, the Mishnah Torah, around 1177-78. That's when it started to go out to various parts of the Jewish world. When it reached southern France, there were a group of Chachamim scholars in the city of Lunel, headed by Rabbi Yonatan, who subjected the Mishnah Torah to their critical analysis. They identified within this huge encyclopedia of a work 27 different decisions that the Rambam had made with which they disagreed. They compiled 24 letters and they sent it to him asking for his response. I guess they assumed that given the quality of their scholarship would be readily apparent to someone such as the Rambam. These men had complete mastery of the Talmud Bavli and Yerushalmi, the Gaonic traditions. He would enthusiastically offer a rejoinder to their rebuttals. Instead, they received nothing. After the first letter by Rabbi Yonatan, a second letter was sent out, a third, and then Rabbi Yonatan once again took up the pen himself and wrote a magnificent letter to him, pleading for the Rambam to answer their questions. This last letter of Rabbi Yonatan actually was found in the Cairo Geniza. It is possessed today by the Oxford Library, and I was delighted that the Bodleian collection sent me the copy, and it graces the cover of my book. And in it you can see Rabbi Yonatan's, not only his autograph, his signature, but a little note which he wrote, which basically said to the Rambam, please answer me while I'm still alive. Right? It's very moving for me to get this particular text. Now, why didn't the Rambam respond? Those of you who are familiar with his writings and or his career know that especially in the last, what turned out to be the last decade of his life, the 1190s, he was exceedingly pressed with his medical undertakings. So that's what the Rambam, I would have thought, might have sent to these scholars in Lunel. I appreciate your questions, but I simply do not have the time because of my medical practice. Now, he does say that, but the essential objection, the essential defense for his tardiness is the fact that he is engaged in the study of chokhmah, a philosophy of wisdom, of science, of human knowledge. Not that they claim my time, he says, libi nechlak, it's my heart that is divided by my passion for various different fields of scholarship. Now, when I read that particular answer, which essentially has pride of place within all the various justifications for his tardiness, I found that personally very moving. And basically that's why I wrote the book. He knew the people in Lunel would appreciate his engagement, the diversions that he had in the study of philosophy. They understood that he was crowned, as they say to him, with the crown of Torah, but also the crown of Chokhmah. So in simple language, the Rambam was talking to me. Anyone who is committed to traditional Jewish study and practice and learning, and yet is engaged in other areas of Chokhmah, feels that tug, that inner conflict, that divided heart. The letter is a magnificent composition. The Hebrew is quite remarkable. It is a unique type of what's called a rhymed prose epistle. And I spent some time figuring out where in the world did the Rambam learn to write this type of letters. We know him as being the philosopher, the legal mind, the halachist. We don't know him as a writer of poetry. Why did he write such a letter? And why in the middle does he stop this poetics and turn to a more straight prose delivery, so that the rhetoric is somewhat complex and that warranted an interpretation? So it's a fascinating composition. The Iggeret itself indeed seduced me because of who I am. And I'd like to think that if this is the kind of thing that engages you, You will read the book, you might even buy the book, I recommend it, and you will find the Rambam's explication, his bearing of his soul, to be as moving and inspiring as it was for me.